Okay, so our next speaker then is Maria Chiara Scuderi, who is an AHRC-funded PhD researcher at the University of Leicester. And she's also got a background in conservation of cultural heritage from Rome, from Ca' Foscari, and from the Leicester Museum and Gallery Studies programme. Her research is taking a networked approach to reconstruct the history of the Dryad Handicrafts collection and its international circulation between 1918 and 1936. And she's not only a researcher, but also a curator. She's working on an exhibition on Dryad basketry as part of her PhD project to look at links with global and colonial contexts for this material culture and what it can tell us about museum practice today. So welcome and thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for inviting me here today. I'm going to show you some objects from the Dryad. Yeah.
On est avant.
En fait, j'aurais peut-être dû aller avec elle
No harm. We have to get rid of it.
Yeah,
We can just turn the whole noise off. You don't need noise, do you?
No.
Just turn noise off the whole computer. Do you know what I mean? Just turn the volume right down.
Yeah.
Just re-listen to you.
Goes from here.
Can you do that?
It's all new to her.
Just in case she comes back, can you turn the volume right down? Just mute and press mute.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. We'll start and I'll start the timer. So yeah.
Okay, so today I'm going to show you some objects from the Dryad Handicraft collection. It is a very diverse collection in terms of manufacture and very global in scopes. So it is made of basketry as well as leather work, woodwork, and textiles. And it really comes from all over the world. Specifically, there is a linkage with ex-British colonies in different parts of Africa, in Southern Asia. There are objects from the Indian and Pacific Oceans, as well as from Eastern Europe. I choose this picture here because I think it is really relevant to understand the rationale of the collection. So I repeat, the collector was interested in collecting patterns from all over the world. So I believe that the obsession for patterns is a kind of fil rouge among the diversity of all the craft in the Dryad collection. The Dryad Handicraft collection is now part of Leicester Arts and Museum Service since 1969, where it entered the museum as a school loan collection. So a collection was supposed to go around different primary schools during the 70s and 80s with an educational scope related to craft practice and for geography. But it has never been on display with a coherent history. There will be an exhibition from September 2024 focused on the basketry of the collection. So why Harry Peach began a collection of craft between 1918 and 1936. So Harry Peach was interested in good design and set up the Dryad Cane and Wicker Furniture Workshop in 1907 in Leicester. And the furniture workshop is there on the right. And later on, in 1918, he also opened the handicraft section of the showroom to sell craft material to make craft. And this is the moment where Harry Peach also started to collect objects from all over the world to put them on display in this showroom, and at the same time to sell craft material to reproduce the object on display. So the Dryad Handicraft collection from the world was supposed to be on display for local production. And Harry Peach was basically a businessman with an interest in craft practice, education, and with this showroom, he tried to combine these two aspects of his interests. A local newspaper, the Leicester Daily Mercury, in 1928 gave us information about how this hybrid space of the showroom was perceived. At the Dryad headquarters is maintained a museum collection of examples of native work from all over the world, including some of the most remote and little-known peoples. And this collection is often consulted and examined by teachers and students of this craft who find in it a fruitful source of ideas and inspiration. So the educational scope was really clear, and the objects from the world were really considered useful to inspire local production, creating this great connection between global collecting and local production, and at the same time to try to improve the making the craft production in Leicester and generally in Britain, so also to improve the school production. As far as the island of Borneo, so today I will be focused on the object that come from Borneo. How Harry Peach collected craft from Borneo? What was his network of relationships? He collected objects from missionary exhibitions, from the 1924 Wembley Empire exhibitions, not the following year, because in 1925 the Sarawak Pavilion became the Rhodesia Pavilion, and from the colonial administrator in Sarawak, Charles Hawes. So Sarawak is a region in the northwest of the island of Borneo, and Charles Hawes was colonial administrator there between 1884 and 1905, and collected so many objects, and some of them arrived also in Leicester. So missionary exhibitions were complex events where the intertwining between religion, culture, and politics was at its core. There were displays of objects from the mission fields organized as propaganda events to show missionary activity in the world. Many small objects were also on sale in missionary exhibitions, the so-called missionary bazaars, which represented commercial channels for developing a collection of global material culture at home in Britain, so without really traveling extensively. Peach purchased many objects from different parts of the world in missionary exhibitions, including this necklace in beads from Borneo. From the 1924 Wembley Empire exhibition, on this occasion, Peach acquired a distinctive pair of large blankets adorned with local motifs. This is the motif, it is called the dog motifs, and we can find so many different alternatives of these motifs in many objects in Sarawak. The intricate patterns resonate with the recurring theme in the Dryad Handicraft collection, particularly evident in the Sarawak artifact. It is likely that on this occasion Peach met Charles Hawes, who helped preparing the pavilion. After their encounter at Wembley, Peach and Hawes embarked on a correspondence that ultimately led to the exchange of cultural artifacts from Sarawak, eventually becoming part of the Dryad Handicraft collection, presumably by 1926. So, as mentioned, Hawes gathered a collection of natural history and craft, and various of these objects were spread to museums in both Sarawak and Britain. As far as the British context, the British Museum purchased the vast majority of Hawes' collection in 1905. This collection of around 14,000 objects is remarkably diverse, although homogeneously focused on craft, and includes a wide array of items ranging from patterned baskets, clothes with decorative motifs, body ornaments, wooden figures, tattooing needles, and stamps. Additionally, Hawes' original collection can be discovered now at the Ornament Museum, at the University of Cambridge's Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology, and the World Museum Liverpool, which acquired a significant portion from Norwich Castle Museum in the 1950s. And apparently some objects from Charles Hawes arrived also at Leicester Museum Service and entered the museum through the Dryad Handicraft collection. Given the extensive dispersal of his ethnography and natural history collections, it is possible that more Hawes' objects are now located in other museums across Britain, and further research is required to track this movement of Borneo material culture history. And Jennifer Morris at the British Museum is the person who has just embarked in a project to track Borneo material culture history in UK museum collections. So in the correspondence between Harry Peach and Charles Hawes, the correspondence started in 1925. Hawes proposed Peach to undertake a photography on some Borneo object arranged in a composition with an Imperial view for the book he was about to publish in 1926, entitled Natural Man, a Record from Borneo. So this request happened because the Dryad firm was famous for photography practice, as they used to take professional pictures of collections to enhance their circulation in the Leicester School of Art with lantern slide. So another request and an educational ambition of the Dryad collection. And if you want, we can talk about the educational scope of the collection later on, because I believe it is very interesting, but it is not the focus of my paper today. But it is a key element. So the photography project with Hose was an opportunity for Peach to see and know the object collection from Borneo. And this is important because Peach was not a keen traveler himself around the world. He traveled a lot around Europe. He went to Germany frequently, to France, to Russia in 1927, but really not around the world. So he collected objects from the world because of his great network, a strong network of relationships. So Hose suggested in this correspondence a preliminary sketch showing how he wanted the photography composition. The sketch demonstrates the will to showcase a diverse array of objects ranging from masks to baskets, shields, hats, and one jacket. Although we don't have the credit for the book's photograph, this remarkable match between the idea embedded in the sketch and the final result of the photograph strongly suggests Dryad as the likely source for the final photograph's attribution, an accreditation confirmed by Hose himself in the correspondence. Supporting the hypothesis of the exchange of artifacts within this photographic context, it seems that two objects from this picture then entered the Dryad collection. So the basket labeled as number 11 in the lower right-hand corner of the photograph, so this round basket, it is exactly that basket that then entered the Dryad collection. And also the number 9, it is a weaving apparatus next to the sword, next to the basket as well. This is also in the Dryad collection, and it presents a lot of decoration, a lot of ornament in the object itself. And the fact that it is an apparatus for weaving, it is also an interesting part of the collection for me, because we have many apparatus in the collection that really reveals the interest of every Peach, not only in the craft itself, but in the process of making other craft. So later on, after this first exchange, on 20 January 1926, Peach requests Hose a list of Borneo objects to purchase, which is interesting as it underscores collecting strategies for the Dryad handicraft collection. Peach chose these items after consulting the photographs and drawing featured in another Hose's publication called The Pagan Tribes of Borneo, and edited in 1912 in 2 volumes, where the dissemination of photographs emerged as a pivotal practice in the selection process for the Dryad handicraft collection. The long Peach list include, quote, a collection of baskets showing the patterns possible, 2 or 3 of each. I think you call them canoe with baskets. And we have, in fact, 2 of these canoe with basket in the Dryad collection, but the British Museum has much more of this kind of basket still coming from Borneo, and they have both patterns, and there is also one example in natural fibers without colors. Peach proposed a long list of objects he wanted, asking also for some hiband seed mats and seed baskets illustrating pattern. And we have, in fact, this basket with, again, the motif of the dog design at the top, on the top. And again, with a focus on patterns. And in this case, we have also an handwritten label with the provenance of the object. I believe that when we find this kind of labels in the collection, it is because for sure the objects were on display in the Dryad handicraft showroom. They were on display, available to be seen and to be handled. Because in theory, all the objects were supposed to be in the showroom, but in practice, I cannot be sure about that. He also asked for, there are other objects in vegetable fiber in the collection, such as these conical huts. Harry Peach asked in the letter for a collection of rice sticks for stirring, showing the variety of simple wood carvings. So a general interest in the materiality of the object of daily life, including wooden utensils. He also asked for object in iron or for tattooing stamps, and he didn't receive, unfortunately, this object, but the fact that he asked for tattooing stamps really reveal again an interest in patterns, and there are lots of these tattooing stamps in Oxford, in Cambridge, also the British Museum. Finally, he also asked for a collection of things illustrating the use of bamboo and pattern on same, never mind how humble. So I think this is a dark case, again, with lots of patterns. So in Peach's request, there was a general interest in patterns, which I believe was related to the idea that creating patterns represented a means for self-expression and an invitation to British makers to be inspired by such free decorative patterns available to see in the Leicester Dryad showroom. To conclude, the collection of objects coming from Charsos and now part of the Dryad Handicraft collection serves as a modest yet vital component in reconstructing a more comprehensive narrative on the connection between Britain and the island of Borneo. In this case, photography played a crucial role to facilitate the connection between Hawes and Peach and to foster the circulation of objects. The photography project enabled Peach to familiarize himself with Bornean material culture and therefore to select objects from the Dryad Handicraft collection. This must be considered within the historical period, the 1920s, in which photography practice was arising as a possibility to establish the methods for the emerging science of anthropology. Thank you.